I transitioned from handling complex problems at my old job to working at a candy store with Ben, and the shift was refreshing. Instead of troubleshooting daily crises, I now enjoyed the charm of sweet treats. Ben's family owned the store, and soon, I was managing the finances. The shop was thriving, and on a Monday morning, Ben greeted me with a warm smile. Despite some underlying tension, his smile brightened my day. I mentioned that our sales were up thanks to a new chocolate we introduced, but Ben seemed unsettled. He joked about his mom still believing he was the best at managing the store. Moments later, Linda, Ben's mother, arrived. She complimented Ben but took a subtle jab at me. I kept my composure and simply greeted her. "Good morning, Linda." Linda implied that I should leave the business aspects to the experts and stick to supporting Ben with the real work. Before things escalated, Ben stepped in, praising my business acumen and showing his support by putting an arm around me. Linda wasn't fully convinced, but she left, stating that Ben's happiness was what mattered most. Ben quietly apologized for his mother's behavior. I brushed it off, insisting it didn't bother me. We continued to run the shop together, and Sugar Haven became more than just a candy store, it was our special place. However, things soon began to unravel. Deliveries increased, but instead of candy, we received costly items that raised red flags about our finances. One evening, I discovered Ben unboxing a new, expensive phone. When I questioned its necessity given our other needs, he shrugged it off, claiming we deserved nice things too. It wasn't just the phone. Linda also frequently showcased new, pricey clothes, treating the store as her personal runway. "Look at this dress, Anna, isn't it lovely?" Linda twirled in a floral dress that seemed far beyond our budget. "It's nice," I said, striving for indifference. "But shouldn't we save for the sign outside?" Linda dismissed my concern with a pat on Ben's cheek. "Nonsense. The store is doing great." "Benjamin, tell her," Linda urged, and Ben, half distracted, agreed with her. "Yeah, we're doing fine, Anna, don't worry." But worry was exactly what I did. Every time I reviewed our finances, the numbers didn't add up. "I think we should be cautious," I suggested later that week while examining our budget. "Perhaps we should set a budget for personal expenses." Ben looked at me as though I'd proposed something outrageous. "A budget? Come on, Anna, we're not in dire straits, and you're usually not this stingy." The term, stingy, hurt. I wasn't being stingy, I was being prudent. "It's not about being stingy, Ben, it's about being smart. We need to consider the future of Sugar Haven." He didn't seem to grasp my concern, already engrossed in shopping for another item. "You worry too much," he said distractedly. "It'll all work out." Matters took a turn when Linda decided to bring in extra help. On a Tuesday, our inventory day, I was buried in organizing candy jars when Linda arrived with a young woman who couldn't have been older than 20. "Anna, this is Tessa," Linda announced with a hint of triumph. "Tessa, dear, this is Anna, my son's assistant." I straightened up and wiped my hands on my apron. "Nice to meet you, Tessa. Actually, I'm the co-manager here." Tessa smiled, but there was something off about it. "I've heard a lot about you. I'm really excited to be part of the team." I glanced at Linda, whose smug expression suggested she hadn't consulted Ben about this new hire. "What exactly will Tessa be assisting with?" I asked, trying to keep my tone friendly. "Oh, she'll be helping with the business side of things. After all, you can only do so much," Linda said, dismissing my concerns with a glance at my inventory list. I nodded, though I was still puzzled. "All right, well, we have a system here, so I'll need to bring her up to speed." It didn't take long to realize that Tessa's approach to helping out involved more observing than actual work, and when I saw the salary Linda had set for her, I was stunned. "Ben, can we talk?" I cornered him in the office later that day. "Sure, what's up?" he asked, eyes glued to his computer screen. "It's about Tessa. Her salary it's way beyond what we can afford for this role." Ben finally looked up, his brow furrowing. "Mom said it was fine. She believes Tessa will make a big impact." I sighed, feeling as though I was talking to a brick wall, but we agreed to discuss new hires together, especially regarding their compensation. He shrugged, that annoying dismissive gesture becoming more frequent. "What's done is done. Mom has a good feeling about her." I bit back a retort. Good feelings don't balance books. I left the office feeling like I was the only one seeing the red flags while Ben and his mother blissfully ignored them. I've always been meticulous with numbers, so when I discovered an envelope wedged in the back of a filing cabinet while searching for a misplaced invoice, my initial thought was that it was just another forgotten bill. But as I sifted through the papers, my heart raced. not from excitement but from dread. It was a document listing Sugar Haven as collateral, and the amount was shockingly high for our small shop. Ben, I burst into his cluttered office, clutching the papers. What is this? He looked up, guilt flashing across his face, an unusual sight in recent months. Oh, it's nothing. Just a small loan I took out to cover, store improvements. Store improvements? I asked, incredulous. This amount could renovate the store 5 times over. What did you actually use it for? There was a pause as Ben carefully chose his words. Okay, look, he started. I might have used some of it for the house, the one I've been working on for us. For us? I repeated sharply, my disbelief palpable. Or for your gadgets and other indulgences? He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping back in a way that grated on my nerves. It's not like that, Anna, you don't understand. This is all going to pay off in the end. No, Ben, what I don't understand is taking out a loan against the store without telling me. How could you be so reckless? Before he could respond, Linda burst in, her expression souring as she noticed the papers in my hand. What's all this about? She demanded. I cut Ben off, thrusting the loan documents at Linda. Did you know about this? She barely glanced at the documents before dismissing them with a wave. Of course I did. Ben's just doing what's necessary for our future. And who are you to question him? You're just the help. After all, the words stung, but they also ignited something inside me. Just the help? I said, my voice steady but firm. I've been keeping the store afloat while you two treat it like your personal bank account. What's ungrateful is not recognizing the hard work someone's been putting into this business. What's foolish is risking everything for a house we don't even need. I waited for them to defend themselves, but they just stared at me, caught off guard, clutching the documents. I left the room. The kitchen table, typically reserved for meals, now hosted a somber gathering as if we were about to discuss matters of state instead of candy. Ben cleared his throat, avoiding eye contact. We need to talk about the store's future. I sat down, folding my hands on the table. We already had that discussion when I found these loan documents. I said firmly. We already had that discussion when I found these loan documents. Linda huffed, her arms crossed tightly. We need to be realistic, Anna. The store isn't pulling in enough to cover the debts. We need to find money somewhere. There it was. That really meant me. I kept my voice steady. What do you suggest? Her eyes gleamed with cold calculation. You have that inheritance from your parents. It could cover the debts and get the store back on track. I felt like I was speaking to a stranger, not the woman who was once a part of my family. You want me to use my parents' money, the money they left for my future? Ben finally spoke up. It's not like you're doing anything else with it. That money was meant for my security, I said, disbelief clear in my voice. What about our security? Linda shot back. You're part of this family now, aren't you? I looked between them, my heart sinking. I am, but it seems you only remember that when you need something from me. Ben shifted uncomfortably. It's not like that, but we're drowning here. Anna, so you expect me to just hand over my future just like that? I asked. Linda leaned forward, her tone harsh. If you care about this family, yes. I thought about the sacrifices I had made for the store, the long hours, the sleepless nights. If I invest my inheritance, I want 1/3 of the store. I want to be an official co-owner. The room fell silent. Linda's laughter was harsh and cutting. You, a co-owner? Don't be ridiculous. You're not business material. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Then find another way to cover your debts, because my inheritance is not your emergency fund. Ben's face was unreadable, but Linda's cheeks were flushed with anger. You'd let this family business go under? I've tried to save it, I said quietly but firmly, but I won't sacrifice my future to keep you warm. I wasn't one for late-night visits to the shop, but something in my gut told me to check on Sugar Haven that evening. The place was dark, as expected, but a faint light glowed from the back office. I pushed open the door, the familiar tinkle of the bell now sounding ominous. The sweet scent of confectionery, which usually comforted me, now felt heavy with the weight of betrayal. As I approached the back, the murmurs from the office grew clearer. Through the partly open door, I saw Ben with his arms around Tessa, the new assistant, who giggled at something he whispered in her ear. I pushed the door open fully, and they sprang apart, their faces morphing from shock to guilt. Anna, Ben stammered, straightening his shirt. What are you? It's not what it looks like, he tried to explain. I crossed my arms, a cold calm settling over me. Really? Because it looks like I just caught my husband with his arms around another woman. Tessa was smoothing her hair back, avoiding eye contact. We were just going over inventory at midnight. With the inventory in your arms? I replied dryly. Ben's eyes were pleading. Anna, please, you're blowing this out of proportion. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty clear. He took a step toward me, but I raised a hand. Save it, Ben. I don't know what's worse, the cheating or the pathetic lies. Tessa spoke up, her voice small and trembling. I'm sorry, Anna, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I looked at her, young, naive, and ensnared in a web spun by a man who couldn't take responsibility for his actions. You should be, and you should also be looking for another job. Ben's protest was immediate. You can't fire her for this. I turned to him, my resolve hardening. I can, and I will, and I'll be looking for a good lawyer in the morning. His face went pale. Anna, please, let's talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, I said firmly. You've made your choices, now you get to live with them. Without waiting for a response, I walked out, my head held high, the sound of Ben calling after me fading behind me. The morning after the confrontation was bright, a stark contrast to the gloom hanging over our home. I'd spent the night at my rental property, and as I sat at the kitchen table, my phone buzzed with a message from Ben. I almost didn't read it, but curiosity got the better of me. The message was a photo of a bank letter addressed to Ben, with the bold words, "Final notice. Immediate repayment required," standing out. Below the photo, Ben had typed, "We need to talk. This is serious." I typed back a simple, "On my way," and prepared to face whatever was coming. When I arrived at the confectionery, Ben and Linda were already there, pacing anxiously. Linda spotted me first, her expression darkening. "Decided to show up, did you?" she snapped. I met her gaze steadily. "You wanted to talk?" Ben handed me the letter. "The bank's coming down hard. We could lose everything." I scanned the letter. The numbers didn't surprise me, but they still made my stomach churn. "So what's your plan?" Linda glared at me as if I were the source of their problems. "We wouldn't be in this mess if you'd helped us when we asked." Ignoring her, I turned to Ben. "What are you going to do?" He ran a hand through his hair, looking defeated. "I thought you could pay it off with your inheritance." My laugh was bitter. "I told you I'm not doing that without a stake in the business." Linda stepped forward, her tone sharp. "You're being unreasonable, Anna. This is a family business." I met her challenge with a calm I didn't feel. "And where was this family when your son was squandering money and hiring his friends for fun?" Ben started to respond but fell silent, his gaze dropping to the floor. "You don't get to play the family card only when it suits you," I continued. "We'll figure something else out." Ben muttered, "You'll have to." I agreed. Then, to my surprise, Linda smiled, but it was far from pleasant. "Fine, if you're not going to help, then you're out. We'll manage without you. You're fired." I stared at her, letting the silence stretch before I matched her smile with one of my own. "Okay." Their shock was almost comical. "Just like that?" Ben asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "Just like that," I confirmed. "But I want you to know I have photos of you and Tessa. I've documented all the money you've wasted. If you think you can fire me and sweep this all under the rug, you're mistaken." Linda's smile faltered. "You wouldn't dare." "Oh, but I would. And when I leave, I'm taking all my hard work with me. You can explain to the bank why the business is about to collapse without the person who actually kept it running." Months had passed since I last stepped foot in Sugar Haven, and life had settled into a new rhythm. The crisp sound of papers shuffling, the hum of focused conversations, and the satisfaction of resolving crises had replaced the sweet scent of sugar and spice. I was sitting in my new office, a world away from the candy shop's back room, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Claire, a former employee and the only one from Sugar Haven I still kept in touch with. "Hey Claire, what's up?" I answered, a note of caution in my voice. News about Sugar Haven always carried a tinge of the past. "You haven't heard?" Claire's voice was filled with a mix of pity and discomfort. "Heard what?" I asked, bracing myself. "The shop closed down last week. The bank foreclosed on them and the house too." I leaned back in my chair, a weight I hadn't fully acknowledged lifting from my shoulders. "I see. And Ben and his mother?" There was a pause. "They're not doing well. Rumor has it they've moved in with Ben's aunt. No one's seen them much since." I sighed, unsure how to process the news. "Thanks for letting me know, Claire." Before hanging up, Claire added, "Anna, everyone knows you were the heart of that place. It was never the same after you left." A small, sad smile touched my lips. "I appreciate that. And you? Found a new job yet?" "Yeah, I'm working at a bakery downtown. It's not Sugar Haven, But it's a start. That's great to hear. You always had a talent for baking. I'm sure you'll do well there. We chatted for a few more minutes before saying goodbye. I looked out the window at the bustling street below, reflecting on the past. A knock at my door brought me back to the present. My assistant peeked in. Your 3 o'clock is here. Thanks. Send them in, I responded, shaking off the remnants of nostalgia. The clients, a husband and wife team, entered, looking concerned about their own business. I stood to greet them, ready to dive into another challenge. We've heard great things about you, Anna, the wife said as we settled into our meeting. They say you're the best crisis manager in town. I smiled, feeling comfortable with the title. I'll do my best to live up to that reputation. Now, tell me about your business, and let's see how we can turn things around. As they spoke, I listened intently, already formulating strategies in my mind. The meeting extended, their initial anxiety giving way to hopeful smiles as we explored possibilities. They left with renewed purpose, and I turned back to my desk, feeling lighter than I had in a long time. In the end, I realized that sometimes the sweetest outcomes emerge from the bitterest trials, and the future was mine to shape, one careful step at a time.